We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Wednesday, and we are in the midst of a Substack Live. Always love doing these Substack Lives. This is a situation where it's much more streamlined. I can do it on my own. I can take the chance to talk to folks like you out there and see what the hell you're thinking. There's a lot of things to think about. There's some fucked up shit that happened today that we need to talk about. But we're going to spend about an hour talking about all kinds of things. And I'm really counting on you folks to participate, to get involved. It really makes things easier if you have questions, comments, whatever. We'd like to hear from you. And I hope that you will follow up with that and actually engage in this situation. I'd much prefer to have it where you could speak live, but that's not the case on Substack. But we got a lot of great peers on Substack, and that's why I like to keep coming here. It's always interesting and fun to do. Anyway, of course, we have the whole situation with the Epstein files, and this is, as much as Donald Trump is trying to make it go away, he keeps doing things to make it worse. He's always making this shit worse. And that's part and parcel to who Donald Trump is. Donald Trump, as I've always said, he'll do something and then he'll ultimately fuck it up. And this particular situation, he is fucking up. There was a vote in the Oversight Committee in the House of Representatives today to subpoena Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, and have her testify in front of Congress. And it passed. But then Mike Johnson out bouncing around doing all the things that he does, and he's trying to do everything he can to cover up the prospect of her talking or getting the files released. So Mike Johnson runs around and says, look at the time. We're just going to shut things down and we're going to take off for 5 or 6 weeks, and maybe this whole thing will mellow out or people will forget about it. I got news for you, Mike. They aren't going to forget about it, especially those MAGA fucks that you've been promising for 10 years to get this information out. It's really funny. Donald Trump is doing all these things to distract from it. And one of the things he was recently doing was he was in a press conference in the Oval Office, and he had the leader from the Philippines there. Funny thing, they didn't talk anything about the Philippines or this particular leader. And he was asked the question about Jeffrey Epstein. Of course, he doesn't want to talk about Jeffrey Epstein, so he started talking about the crimes and criminality of Barack Obama. Yeah, let's talk about that. Said what he did was treasonous. We've got him dead to rights. He's going to be prosecuted. He's going to jail. Yeah, now that's not going to happen. And then later when I was on TikTok, he got all these dumbass Trump-fucks going up. Yeah, you don't understand what Obama did. It was very terrible. We're going to put him in jail. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Here's the thing about that. Everything that Donald Trump said about Barack Obama has already been addressed and already been debunked. But even if Donald Trump was like that squirrel, that blind squirrel that could find a nut and found something against Barack Obama, he's forgetting one important thing. All presidents, past and present, have immunity. They have immunity. Remember, Donnie, when you got that immunity, it wasn't just for you. It was for everybody, including Barack Obama. Now, Obama didn't do anything wrong at all. But even if you try to find something, you can't do anything. And that's why I love how these Trump-fucks will go on and say, yeah, it's just a matter of time. I got a question for Trump-fucks. Since Donald Trump came into office the first time in 2016, we kept hearing about all these people that were going to be prosecuted and go to jail. Hillary Clinton, all the deep state, all the people tied to Jeffrey Epstein. You haven't investigated any of them, and you haven't prosecuted any of them, and none of them have gone to jail. You Trump-fucks, how many times do you got to hear this shit before you go, yeah, we're getting tired of hearing this shit and seeing nothing happen? So nothing is going to happen with this Barack Obama thing. One way or another, it's just silly. It's just noise. It's just trying to distract from what is really going on. The crimes of Jeffrey Epstein, the crimes of Ghislaine Maxwell. and the crimes of Donald Trump. I think, Donald Trump is trying to say, well, let's get all the transcripts from the grand jury. Well, let's be honest. The amount of evidence in the transcripts of the grand jury is maybe 1%. Nobody's going to be happy about that. The Oversight Committee has said they're going to talk to Ghislaine Maxwell. So how does Donald Trump respond to that? Well, he gets his deputy AG riled up and raring to go talk to Ghislaine Maxwell, see if she has any information. Of course she has information. She was his partner in crime, if you will, Jeffrey Epstein's. She knows it all. She knows everything that went on. She was part of this shit. So they're talking about bringing her into Congress, but now Congress is going to take a 6-week break. So why is this Todd Blanche from the Department of Justice going to try to talk to Ghislaine Maxwell? Well, Todd Blanche is what Michael Cohen once was. He's a fixer. So he's going to try to find out what's going on with her and maybe try to cut a side deal. It's interesting. Remember when they fired Maureen Comey, the lead prosecutor on the Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell thing? Remember when they fired her and we thought, why? Why did they fire her at that particular moment? Why did they do that? They could have done that 6 months previously, but they didn't. Now we know. And I got this thought from Hawk on TikTok. I got to give him credit for it because I hadn't considered this, and this is a good point. Now, if Todd Blanche from the DOJ is going to go see Ghislaine Maxwell, in a situation like that, the lead prosecutor would have to go too. And then there would be a witness to whatever was talked about amongst these people, Ghislaine Maxwell and Todd Blanche. Well, there isn't a lead prosecutor now because, well, she got fired. So now Todd Blanche is going to go there alone, and talk to Ghislaine Maxwell. Do you think there's any side deals going to be working? Do you think there's going to be any threats made? Do you think there's going to be any offers of some deals? Here's what I'm thinking. Donald Trump can't really pardon her before the midterm. Donald Trump is known to make promises that he doesn't keep. I could see something like this. Todd Blanche goes in and says, you can't talk about anything with Donald Trump. You got to keep your mouth shut. And then after the midterm elections, we're going to have Donald Trump pardon you. That's probably how it would work out, some side deal. But when you look at the bottom line here, here's the deal. You don't need Ghislaine Maxwell. You don't need the transcripts from the grand jury. All you need to do is release the evidence, the reams of evidence that Pam Bondi said were sitting on her desk. You don't have to go to a court and say, can I release this? Can I release this? No, you got the shit right there. And they keep talking about a client list. And I don't know if there's a client list, but it doesn't really matter because in that evidence, all the names are there. It doesn't have to be in a list form. Give us all the evidence. Give it to us unredacted so we can look at it and decide what's really going on. That's what we've got to do here. But Pam Bondi doesn't want to do that. Mike Johnson doesn't want to ask to have those files released. And the only thing I can possibly think that might be going on here is that they're trying to protect Donald Trump because Donald Trump is most certainly in the files. We know in the grand jury testimony, Donald Trump's name came up a number of times, so they are in the files. He showed up on the flight logs. Donald Trump says he never went to the island, but I know Donald Trump has a tendency to lie now and again, so I guess I'm not buying it. Darla says exactly, release the files. That's all you got to do. And you have total control over Pam Bondi. All you got to do is pick them up off your desk, send them over to somebody to print them out, and send them out. Do you think there's anything to J.D. Vance laying the groundwork to usurp Trump? I think there's something to that. I don't think it's just J.D. Vance, though. I think when you look at Rupert Murdoch and him being sued by Donald Trump for ridiculous shit. He'll never follow through with that lawsuit. But I think the likes of Rupert Murdoch, maybe Elon Musk, maybe Peter Thiel, and some of the oligarchs, some of the tech bros, they're kind of setting things up to bring Donald Trump down. And the reason I say they're doing that is because if they try the 25th Amendment or if they try to impeach him, then the base is going to be against the Republicans and it won't work very well. Two things have to happen in order for the Republicans to benefit with regards to Donald Trump leaving office. He's got to keel over choking on a Big Mac, or he's got to be destroyed personally. And I think the likes of Rupert Murdoch, he put out the one thing he did. I think we're going to see more of that. Have you noticed there's more and more victims that are coming out and speaking out? There's more and more pictures. Like there was a picture recently, well, just today, where Donald Trump says, I hardly knew him. Well, there's a picture of uh, Epstein at Donald Trump's wedding to Marla Maples. You don't invite somebody you barely know to your fucking wedding. This is a big lie Donald Trump is passing along. James says it's so obvious that Trump is guilty of the accusations. Yeah, there's no question. I mean, I don't even need to get discovery. We have enough discovery. We've got videos, we've got pictures, we've got documents, we've got victims talking about it. We've got Elon Musk saying he's on the list. It's there. Where Donald Trump got himself into trouble here is by jumping on the bandwagon back 4 years ago when QAnon and the Republicans said, Jeffrey Epstein's list, we've got to release it. We got to release it. It's going to get all the Democrats. And I think they believe that because we know or we understand that Bill Clinton is on the list. Anybody surprised by that? Bill Clinton? Does anybody care if Bill Clinton's on it? I don't care. I don't classify myself as a Democrat, so Bill Clinton goes down, I'm fine with it. Anybody who committed these kinds of crimes needs to go down, whether it's my best friend or the worst possible Republican. These are crimes, and it really doesn't matter what party you're in. If you committed those crimes, you need to be held accountable. You got to be held accountable. Fucking ridiculous. So, anyway, Donald Trump is doing everything he can to cover this up. But Donald Trump made the mistake that he jumped on the bandwagon. He promised. And then when he got there, he said, nothing here. See, the problem here is that he disappointed these people who desperately wanted to see this information. They definitely wanted to see it. But they also made these people think a bit. Why would Donald Trump do that? Who knows? Maybe he's guilty. Or maybe he's lying to us. Well, of course he's guilty, and of course he's lying to us, and it's causing Trump-a-fucks to rethink the whole situation, which seems silly to me because when you think about it, this is what it took, this is how long it took for you to question Donald Trump? Well, apparently it is, and this is why we as Democrats or independents or whoever we are, we need to keep pushing the envelope here. We need to keep it in the narrative. Now, when Mike Johnson shut down the House of Representatives, knowing that he's going to have to vote on this on this bill of whether or not to release the Epstein file, he said, we're going to take the break. He's hoping that in 5 or 6 weeks, all this firestorm settles down. And it's not. It's not going to settle down because Donald Trump will keep firing it up with his stupid bullshit. So we just have to keep that fire, that flame going. So they are forced to make that decision when the House of Representatives comes back. James says, I'm a Democrat, but I worship no one and I don't turn a blind eye to criminality. I agree with you. And this is what I've always said. People said, are you a Democrat or a Republican? I don't join clubs. I don't join religions. I don't join political parties. When it comes to politics, the only separation I see is right and wrong, truth and lies. I'll stick with the people that are right. I'll stick with the people that tell the truth. The liars and the idiots can fuck themselves. Dimitri says the fact that Trump is a negative Gemini makes him a born dual-faced liar, unable to keep his word and um, constantly repeating himself and changing his mind. I don't know a lot about astrology, but if that is the description, that fucking nails it. Roseanne says you can tell Trump is scared. He's trying to make it all go away, but it's not working. That's because it's his own voters who want to release the Epstein files, and it's because he promised them if he voted for him, he'd make it happen. He's despicable. You're absolutely right about that. He made a promise, and this was the one chance they thought they could own the libtards, and Donald Trump took it away from them. This is something narcissists do. They will say or do anything to get what they want from you, but they always disappoint people. They always disappoint people. I had a father that was like that. He'd make promises. Oh, we're going to go here. We're going to get you that. And then at the last minute, nah, not so much. He didn't really mean it. He was just telling me what he wanted to tell me so I would do or behave the way he wanted me to behave. That's what Donald Trump's doing. I mean, we know the Trumplafucks look at him as daddy, so daddy's once again disappointed the Trumplafucks. It's just a matter of how long before they get too tired of it and they say, fuck this, we're not doing this anymore. We're not supporting you. But I think what somebody said earlier, that there may be some machinations going on in the background with the intention of taking Donald Trump down. Like I said, he's got to either keel over, choking on a Big Mac, or he's got to be embarrassed to the nth degree. And I think that may be the plan. And Donald Trump is starting to feel a little suspicious about J.D. Vance. You think, Donnie? The oligarchs put him in there. They forced you to make him the vice presidential candidate. You don't think that they've been looking to usurp you, kick you out? I wouldn't be surprised by that. Now, people will say to me, oh, well, J.D. Vance is worse than Donald Trump. J.D. Vance sucks. He'd be a horrible president. He's a horrible human being, but he's not worse than Donald Trump. And even the Republicans are starting to see that now, because Donald Trump has one thing that J.D. Vance doesn't have. There is no control over Donald Trump. When he gets riled up, when he gets nervous, when he gets upset, he says and does anything. He's uncontrollable. J.D. Vance, on the other hand, is completely controllable, and that's who the oligarchs want. Somebody that they can control and pull the strings. Let's see. Time is running out fast for his corrupt administration. It is. It's not going well. And frankly, his health is not holding on very well either. I'm glad he's paranoid. He needs to be. Yeah, I hope this is racking his fucking narcissistic brain every minute of every day, because he doesn't handle stress well. All right. I'm not exactly sure if I'm a Democrat, but I feel like an independent that Donald Trump made because I did not want him to win a second time, even if it was a storm of brewing, even if the empire was falling and no one was saying it yet. I still did not want Trump to win, but I just wasn't loud enough to um, make my family decide against their wishes. But also, my country voted for Democrat, even in Utah, which is saying something. Will says, fuck ICE. I just watched Tom Homan on Morning Joe. They catered to him. Yeah, Tom Homan. This guy, I call him, um, I call him a mentally disabled Fred Flintstone, because that's what he looks like. And I'm not making fun of the mentally disabled, but he talks so slow. He doesn't seem to be very articulate. And he always says, well, I was a cop for this. Fuck you. Fuck you. You don't know what you're doing. Because if you did, you wouldn't be so far behind Barack Obama. Barack Obama deported far more people than Donald Trump ever has. They've got Tom Homan and ICE have been directed to hit soft targets. to pick up old ladies and old men and kids with cancer, as opposed to these alleged criminals, these rapists, these gang members. I find it funny that in all the people that they've arrested and deported, we have not seen them spotlight one criminal, one gang member. But we have seen some uh, people that work on landscaping or teachers or students or children. There was a conversation that Christy Nome was in a press conference, and she said, "We're getting the worst of the worst." And somebody in the crowd said, "Well, that's not the case because of this situation, that situation, this situation." And she pointed at this person. She goes, "Don't say that. That's a lie. That's not true. I'm not answering those questions." Well, it is true. It's been documented. And I wish I had the opportunity to talk to Christy Nome because she would be not happy with me or Donald Trump for that matter. I get tired of journalists who are afraid to ask the hard questions. Spacer says, side note, Jim Jordan is also facing the repercussions of his sexual harassment escapades. Yeah, I heard the documentary's coming out, and it probably doesn't make him look too good. This may be the thing that we have to get out to the Republicans. They seemed very concerned about child abusers leading up to the 2024 election and the 2020 election. They seem to be worried about it. But all we're hearing now is that those people are the ones committing those crimes. Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, Jim Jordan. We need to keep pushing that message so people know who they're supporting, because that's what they're supporting. The head pedo in charge. That would be Donald Trump. Wilfredo is talking about the deportation as ethnic cleansing. Somebody might say, well, that's hyperbole. Not really. That's exactly what they're doing. They're finding brown people, taking them, abusing them, jailing them, and sending them to detention camps or outside the country. When in your wildest dreams did you ever imagine this country to be involved in ethnic cleansing? I got news for you. We're doing it right now, this country. Darla says, I want them to go to a neighborhood and try their crap there. Yeah, that's something Will said oftentimes. They never go where the criminals are. Go into Compton one time. Go into some of these gang member areas and see how you fare. Probably not too well. Dimitri says, worst JD share the same obnoxious dragon's tail in Sagittarius as Trump. Let's pray God they never get power. And there again, you're talking about astrology. I don't know anything about it. Just saw the Japanese Americans are protesting these detention centers, atrocious about this repeating. Yeah, I can imagine. There are still people alive that had parents or maybe been in those detention camps themselves. It was completely against the Constitution. It was completely illegal, but it fucking happened here. Did you hear that Donald Trump announced a trade deal with Philippines yesterday and with Japan today? Well, great, Donnie. Let's see the trade deal. Let's hear about it, because he keeps telling us about trade deals, and we never see the documentation of it. Donald Trump just spews shit, and it doesn't matter if it's real or not. The important thing to remember is Donald Trump's current pause on the tariffs ends on August 1st. We're at the 22nd, 23rd right now. So we got about a week before they happen. We'll see how Taco Donald Trump, backs out of this one. James, his health is going to start declining even more faster with the Epstein scandal. Yeah, I mean, his health is declining. There's no question about it. When you put the kind of stress that's probably on him now, yeah, it's going to increase. It's going to multiply. The thing about Donald Trump being a narcissist, they don't always carry the same kind of stress that normal people do. They always have stress and they become accustomed to it because they know their failures. They're insecure, so they're doing these narcissistic things to cover that up. So they're always worried about that. We can only hope that the possibility of being exposed as part of the Jeffrey Epstein thing is weighing heavy on his heart, because his heart has some problems currently. Do you think maybe Trump is devolving? He's saying and doing some really crazy things. Maybe that's why the Republicans are working secretly behind the scenes to try to get rid of him. They see the writing on the wall and they're trying to get ahead of it. Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. I mean, it isn't hard to see when you watch Donald Trump talk, it isn't hard to see that he's becoming more and more diminished. And the Republicans know this, and the Republicans know that when he becomes more unhinged, he's going to be hard to control. So I do think the Republicans are working in the background to try to undermine him and get him the fuck out of the way. The only way they're going to do it, though, is expose him for who he is. That's what it's going to take to get the base to go against him. Darla says, I really want to see if Texas will take a stand. ICE isn't coming to my grandchildren's school. Yeah, it's a funny thing about Texas. I mean, there are some positive things going on down in Texas, but Texas and Florida really are fucked up. Those are fucked up states. And it's sad because both states are beautiful straight states, great tourist states, but who the fuck wants to go down there anymore? Spacer says it's awfully funny that Japan reached a trade deal with Trump the same weeks that Japan's far right party and parliamentary elections. Yeah, isn't that convenient? Is the next No Kings 5501 protest happening soon? I think we need to ramp those up again. Yeah, I haven't kept up to date with what the No Kings protests are. Maybe there's somebody in the audience that knows about that. And if you do, please let us know. Yeah, the protests have to continue. I will tell you this, though, the protests won't be the things that bring down Donald Trump. It'll help. It'll cause more stress on Donald Trump. But the real thing that we can do to take down Donald Trump because of his personality is continue to embarrass him, make fun of him, expose him for the silliness he is. And things like Jeffrey Epstein, those are the things that are going to cause him to spiral and go out of control. Janice says August 2nd for No Kings protest. Darla says July 26th, I think. So we're talking about 3-4 days away, and that's good to hear. But we need more coverage on these things. It seems like the mainstream media doesn't cover it as much. I mean, when you're talking about tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of people going out and protesting, you think they'd report that. But when we're talking about mainstream media, they don't do anything to help this country. They only do things to help Donald Trump, unfortunately. Spacer says we just theme those protests to just keep reminding people about Epstein. I agree. We've got to keep it in the ether. I know Mike Johnson thinks it will go away, but when you've been talking about this and promising this for 5-6 years, it's not going to go away. Think about all the other conspiracy theories that they've come out with. Have they let them go? No. In fact, I heard Pam Bondi make a reference to Hillary's fucking emails yesterday. Jesus Christ. They're still talking about Hillary's emails? They're talking about Barack Obama committing crimes? It's all bullshit. Donald Trump just says anything, and all the little Republicans get behind him and say, yeah, we agree with you. We agree with you. And then when you say, where's the evidence? They go, oh, I'm sure there's some. It's coming, and it never comes. And these people never get prosecuted. I mean, here's the deal. If Donald Trump really thought Barack Obama committed these crimes, Barack Obama left office. Donald Trump was president for 4 years. Why didn't he investigate him then? Why didn't he prosecute him then? Well, because he didn't need that distraction. He had other bullshit distractions. And now he's in this situation where he needs it, so he's going to Barack Obama. This is a guy that's flailing. Barack Obama this, the transcripts that, anything but Jeffrey Epstein. you ever watch his press conferences, watch when he's asked about Epstein, and he inevitably will be asked about Epstein. He always changes the topic. And this is how we know he's panicking and how he's desperate and how he's trying to deflect as best he can. Unfortunately, in this mental state, in this physical state, he's not doing too good a job, and nobody, including the Trumplefucks, is buying it. Ironically, he's been silent about Biden relatively, maybe just a mention here and there. He's running out of material. Um, yeah, I think he tried Biden for a while and it didn't work. So he moved on to Barack Obama and now maybe Hillary Clinton. Once they don't work, I don't know what he's going to do. But Donald Trump is trying. And like I say, I was going through TikTok and I was seeing these dumbass Trumplefucks saying, "You don't believe what Obama did. It's worse than what Donald Trump did. He's going to jail." No, he's not going to jail. He's not going to jail. He's got fucking immunity, just like every other former president, just like Joe Biden, just like Donald Trump. You may not like that now, but that's what you did. So now try to prosecute Barack Obama. I'd fucking dare you. I dare you. And anybody who is a Republican that thinks that's going to happen, I'll take that bet. How much you want? 500,000, 2,000, 5,000? I'll take that bet because I know I will win. But you won't do it. And you know why Trumplefucks won't take a bet on something like this? Because they got no money. They took their fucking Medicaid. All right, let's see what else we got here. Imagine as Pam Bondi opens investigation on Bush or Clinton. Just hilarious. Yeah. I'd love to see that. I would absolutely love to see that because it would be an absolute failure. I just watched one of Ohio State wrestlers talk about how Jim Jordan betrayed them. Jordan was finally forced to give a deposition in the case today. Let's hope he finally gets exposed for what he did, get what he deserves for abandoning his friends and teammates. And, let's be honest, as a member of Congress, he has done nothing. He's brought forth no bills. He's passed no bills. He's done nothing. All he is there is a shit stir, and as of late, he hasn't been much of that either. There's other clowns within the Democratic or Republican Party that are doing more than he is. He's been terribly quiet, and I have to wonder if it doesn't have something to do with this deposition he gave today and what's coming out of this in the documentary. Jim was always so smart and so proud, but he's not going to do well in this. We've waited a long time for Republicans to take the fall, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, it's taken much longer than I thought it would. I thought it would go quicker than this. I thought Democrats would fight stronger. I thought Republicans will have had enough by a certain point. And I've been disappointed on both sides. The Democrats have been weak, and the Republicans just stand tough with Donald Trump no matter how criminal, no matter how corrupt, no matter how stupid he looks. They just don't care. They don't care. Spacer says that Jim Jordan is a waste of space. There's no question. There's a lot of Republicans that are waste of space. What else we got here? Darla says it's strange. Oh, there's so much about politics these days that's strange. I've told you before, I'm 65 years old. I've seen a lot of things. When I was born, Ike was the president, but only for a short time. Shortly after that, then JFK took over in 61. So JFK, Lyndon Baines Johnson, Nixon, Gerald Ford, and so on down the line. I've seen a few presidents. I've seen bad presidents, Richard Nixon, for example, and he was a criminal, but he was nowhere near as stupid as Donald Trump, nowhere near it. I was young at the time when he resigned, but I knew how big a deal it was. There are some people out there suggesting that Donald Trump, the pressure's getting to him, his mental and physical health is bad, that he will step down, he will resign. and hope to get some kind of pardon from J.D. Vance. Well, understand that even if he does get a pardon from J.D. Vance, it's only for federal crimes, not state crimes, like the state of New York, like all of these other things. So he's not going to find his way out of it. He better hope he keels over, choking on a Big Mac. Otherwise, he could see the inside of a jail cell. And I said this before in a podcast yesterday. You know, we hear about all these detention camps being built and everybody's freaking out about it, and justifiably so. But when this is all said and done, Donald Trump is no more, and we are starting the investigations and the prosecutions of these people that tried to overthrow this country. When they get convicted, we're going to need to put them someplace. So I'm looking forward to these Trumplafucks who so love these detention camps. It'll be interesting to see how they like them from the fucking inside. Um, Ohio has the potential to be the next swing state, and hopefully, with how bad Trump is, we finally take a turn despite being so badly gerrymandered. Yeah, I'm hoping that things are so bad for the Republicans that we see some of those swing states switch. Like Ohio. You see Ohio and Pennsylvania go our way, maybe Texas. Some people suggesting Texas. There's that new young Democrat in Texas. I think his name is Talerco. He was on Joe Rogan. Very bright, decent human being. I'm glad to see that. Some young politician on his way up. He's still got some time to put in. He's got to pay his dues. But it's good to see that there are some people with some decency still out there. Um, let's see here. Carter was my influence, and I'm glad. Yeah, Jimmy Carter gets a lot of bad pub. Economy was bad. Fuel prices were high and scarce. But in terms of just being a decent human being and doing the right things for the right reasons, he was one of the few presidents I could say actually did that. I think Obama did too. I think one of the problems with Obama, though, he was relatively inexperienced. That's why he got Joe Biden as vice president. He was shut down on a lot of things by the Republicans. I think if Obama were the president now, it might be a whole different thing. Jana says his color today, you could almost see the gray underneath the orange. Yeah, I've been noticing that too. He does look a little gray. And I guess when you have heart problems, circulation problems, edema, and some of these other things, it's not that surprising that you're going to lack color in your cheeks. The only color he has is, of course, orange, and it doesn't look good. All he has is false deportations, tariffs, and empty threats. I think in no matter what case Trump goes out of office, the stink of Trump will stick to Vance like superglue. I think it sticks to all the Republicans for that matter, and all the people that supported Donald Trump. I'm a firm believer that when this is all said and done and Donald Trump gets exposed for all his crimes and criminality, you'll become a pariah, not unlike Richard Nixon did when he resigned. Um, you got to remember when Nixon resigned, there was a poll of the most hated men in history, and I think he beat out the mustache guy at that time. Later on, people kind of eased up on him, but Donald Trump is far worse than Richard Nixon ever was, and he will be a pariah, and he'll be a joke in history. When our grandkids are up there, they'll look at what was going on, and they'll go, "What the fuck? The fuck were we doing?" And of course, that will seep over into all the Trump names. You'll see some of these people try to change their names, the people that we don't recognize. And all the Republicans that stood with him are going to have a problem too. You know, they've lost family members and friends and that sort of thing. And I don't think they're ever going to get them back because here's the deal. You jumped on a bandwagon with Donald Trump. If they say, "Oh, I realize I was wrong. Please help me. Please forgive me." I don't know that I can do that because I can't trust them. When the next clown comes along on his clown train, they're going to jump on board there. I don't trust them. So let them go be dumb fucks on their own. Darla says, and yes, I thought we leaped hurdles with Obama. Well, we did. We did. I've said this before, white people will say, well, for a while, it looked like we were doing pretty good with racism. I think if you talk to people of color, they would say otherwise. That's not the case. In the 60s, 50s, and 60s, racism was pretty much just accepted. Everybody had their opinions about the other races. Some people were decent, but a lot of people, this racism thing was just accepted. As time went on and things changed and the Civil Rights Act and all this stuff happened, people went racing under their rocks. They still felt the same way, but they didn't have the courage to say it. So they hid under their rocks. And the perception for white people was, oh, racism got better. Didn't get better. It's always been bad. And then when Donald Trump comes along, makes it cool to be racist again, they all come from under the rocks and they start screaming the racist bullshit. All right. Trump and the Texas governor are trying to shut out the Democratic hopes of gerrymandering 5 more Republican seats in Congress. They're doing it proudly and right out in the open. Let's hope the blue wave drowns them out. Yeah, that's the thing you have to remember. A gerrymandered situation can only do so much good. It really does good when it's a closer race. But if you get a tsunami or a blue wave, it's hard to beat it anyway. And then, of course, we've got Gavin Newsom in California threatening to do the same thing, which would counteract what they're doing in Texas. I don't know how this all shakes out. The bottom line is, had we gotten all the Democrats out to vote that we should have in November 5th of 2024, Democrats would have won. This isn't about gerrymandering. This is about people getting off their ass and understanding the importance of getting out and fucking voting. Hopefully a lesson has been learned here. Spacer says, but I think that humanity itself at a turning point of where we go. The embarrassing part is that we've been through this before with the likes of racists during civil rights, mustache man, and the like. Yeah, that's the thing. People will come out and they'll say, oh, it's over. We'll never come back from this. And that's just bullshit. First of all, you can't have that attitude and continue to fight. So if you've got that attitude, go off on the corner and we'll wake you up when it's over. Secondly, if you've lived as long as I have or some other people out here have, you know as well as anybody that we've gone through some bad times. Maybe not like this, maybe not even as bad as this, but we always come out the other side. And the thing with a narcissist like Donald Trump, their arc is always the same. They seem very powerful, very successful for a time. They hit their peak, and then they start the trip down. They ultimately always crash and burn, and Donald Trump is headed down currently. That's going to happen. And when Donald Trump is out of the way, we're not completely fixing our problems, but it's a start. The California Army National Guard loathed Trump's bogus deployment. And did you see the Marine Corps confidence comments? People shouldn't doubt that the military won't back Trump. They won't. Well, hopefully that's the case. I would like to believe that's the case, but I'm honestly not sure. Spacer says it's the growing pains of our society before we make things finally better. Now, Spacer, I agree with you on that. I'm a believer that out of all bad comes good and sometimes even better. I think that had Kamala won, which I would have preferred, she would have been a great president, but had she won, we'd have these MAGA fucks bubbling under and causing problems. It's almost as if we need to completely destroy MAGA and Donald Trump to finally be done with them. Since we are where we are, let's assume that's the case. Let's make sure they're exposed and destroyed and disposed of, so we don't have to deal with it anymore. And when this is all said and done, there's going to be a lot of fixes necessarily to get things back to normal. Maybe that opens the door for universal health care. Maybe that opens the door for a lot of things that might help the middle class. It's like COVID, They gave a bunch of people to the middle class, in the middle class, a bunch of money because they had to, and it helped, and it did good things for the economy. That should have been a flag to people saying, "Oh, that works, helping the middle class. Maybe we should do more of it." Well, the Republicans refuse to do that, and sometimes the Democrats are too fucking lazy to do it. So we as a people have to put the pressure on the Republicans to dispose of them, but put the pressure on the Democrats as well to get them to actually fucking do something. Darla says expose and expel. Yeah, what do they say? Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Pam, I'm the same as you. Mike, we will see. Will we see anything improve during our remaining lifetime? Yeah, we will. Depends on how long you're planning to live. I'm 65. I think I got a solid 20. I think as soon as Donald Trump and MAGA is gone, we'll start to see some improvement. Will we see the best of the improvements? Maybe not. It all takes time. Government takes time. Pam says we're the same age. I think we got some time to see some shit happen, and I think it will get better. I'm hoping by the time I take my last breath that things are better so I can feel comfortable that my kids and my grandkids aren't going to have to go through some of the shit we're seeing now. Something like this particular climate in this country, it can't sustain because people are going to be hurt and they're going to push back. They are pushing back right now. So, yeah, I think we'll come out the other side and I think things will be better. And I think maybe they'll be much better. They'll have to be in order to try to fix the shit that's going on. Michael says most of the career military disdains the clown show under Trump and Hog's breath. Seasoned officers hate that a drunk major was put in charge of them. I would hope that's true. I would hope that's true. But my question is always this: if the military has disdain for Trump and Hegseth and whoever, how much power and what is the point where they push back? Now, they sent Marines to California. That was borderline unconstitutional. Was that the time they'd say, fuck no, we're not going? I don't know. I mean, they have careers. They are making money in their business of the military. And when do you come to the point where you tell your bosses, I'm not doing that shit? I mean, they have a right to do it. They have a right to ignore any unlawful order. But define that. When is that? How is that? How do they do that? So I don't know. Donald Trump has done a good job co-opting a lot of people from Congress to the DOJ to the Supreme Court. I'm not saying he's unbeatable. I'm just saying he's had a pretty good fucking run. And I got to know where that red line is before people say, oh, wait a minute, this is too fucking far. Because the Supreme Court is still doing their shit. Congress is still doing their shit. The DOJ is completely co-opted by Donald Trump. Darla says it's called integrity. And I agree with you, Darla. It is called integrity, and there is a scarcity of integrity these days. It's hard to find somebody in politics with integrity. And I'm talking about Democrats as well as the Republicans. There's not a lot of integrity anymore. It's about self-enriching, making money for yourself. You know, I've talked about the PACs and APAC and all this stuff. A lot of people in Congress gain a lot of money to do the bidding for these big money people. And we're talking Democrats as well as Republicans. So that's something we've got to get out of the business of politics. Michael says, I haven't forgotten Lieutenant Calley. People do stand up when it's especially heinous. Now, there's an old reference, Michael. I know you're an old guy if you remember that. I was young when it happened. But Lieutenant Calley, the My massacre, or I think it's My or My Lai massacre. That's when our military essentially murdered a lot of women, children, and elderly folks just because. And somebody did speak out about that, and that was quite a mess for a time. Michael says, all I'm saying is the military will stand up as soon as it becomes heinous. It's kind of heinous now, honestly, but I know what you're saying. Lisa Murkowski is the furthest thing from integrity. It's one thing to align herself with Trump, but to blissfully walk into bowing to Trump is work in my book. Yeah, Lisa Murkowski is the worst. It's kind of like what people of color say. If you run into a racist who's overtly racist, you don't like those people. But they find the people that fake like they're not racist but are racist are more dangerous. And that's kind of where Lisa Murkowski is. She comes out. Donald Trump brings the big, beautiful bill. She's deadly against it. I will not vote for this. I will not vote for this. And then all of a sudden, she votes for it. And why did she vote for it? She voted for it because she cut some deal, or at least tried to cut some deal, where her state was going to be fine, but everybody else was fucked in terms of Medicaid. And then when she was confronted about it, she had the audacity to get insulted and angry about it. Lisa Murkowski is gutless, a gutless Republican piece of shit. And then she comes out crying yesterday and says, look, I feel like I was cheated by Donald Trump. Some of the things I wanted in the bill aren't there, and I voted for it. Yeah, you fucking voted for it. And the idea that Donald Trump played you, is that a big surprise? You've got some experience with this dumb fuck. Michael says, my money would be on the military saying no, specifically if they were asked to fire on civilian protesters. I hope to God you're right. And I hope to God we don't get to a point where that's even an issue. I'd like to believe that. And, I was never in the military. I don't know a lot about the military, so I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, they're definitely going to do that or they won't do that. I don't honestly know. Michael, you obviously have some experience with it, so I'll defer to you on these types of things. Susan Collins also, I think she knows her time is up next year. Well, if she didn't know, she found out today because the polls in Maine have her at 38%. That's not good coming up to an election. Susan Collins, she's almost at that point where she's too old anyway. She's got this quivering voice and she's elderly and she's weak. I vote against Donald Trump, and then, of course, she votes for Donald Trump. I don't have any, when these people first came out and spoke out against Donald Trump, I said, good, we got somebody on the right team. But they aren't on the right team. They're on whatever team benefits them. And that, in my mind, makes them more dangerous because they try to be your friend, and then they kick you in the ass. Murkowski will soon feel like the revealed emperor, naked before his villagers, quite like Trump with his Epstein problems. Yeah, I think a lot of these people are in line for some serious problems. Collins, too, all naked. Yuck, something you just don't want to see. Definitely not. In terms of Murkowski, Alaska is a strange place due to its remoteness with low information communities. And also, it's a blue state like Maine voted for Collins as many times as they did. The only thing I can possibly think of is because she's been there forever and name recognition. Same reason Grassley gets voted in Iowa. Grassley, it's funny with Grassley was one time a relatively well-respected senator, Republican senator, decent for a Republican. But then when Donald Trump comes along, Donald Trump completely co-opts Grassley, and he does things completely against the rules. He'll bend over for Donald Trump, and it's pitiful, actually, to watch it. It's going to be interesting to see what these people do when Donald Trump does go away. There really is nobody to take his place to lead MAGA. Nobody has the charisma or the power or the audacity that Donald Trump has. J.D. Vance will not be a good replacement for Donald Trump. I think a lot of MAGA don't even like him at this point. He doesn't command any respect. He doesn't command any control. He'll be pretty much handled like a fucking puppet. Now, Donald Trump is like that too, but again, he's a wild card. He will do crazy shit, and nobody can control him. So this is why the Republicans aren't too happy with Donald Trump at this point. It's going to be interesting to see what happens over the 5 weeks where the House of Representatives is no longer in office. Well, I won't say no longer in office, on vacation. I have the question, vacation from what? They've accomplished nothing this year, save for this bullshit big beautiful bill. They've done nothing for the people of this country. They've done everything for the wealthy and for Donald Trump. That's all they've accomplished, and they're going to have to pay for that with the midterms coming up as well. People aren't going to be happy. I've already heard about Walmart. Some of the prices have gone up as much as 50%. The price of beef has gone up by 20-30%. There's going to be more and more of that, especially if on August 1st there are tariffs that go into place. Donald Trump insists that the countries pay for tariffs. That's just not true. There was a report in the Wall Street Journal that Scott Bessent had to take Donald Trump aside and talk to him about his problems with Fed Chair Jerome Powell. He said, look, if you get rid of Jerome Powell, it's going to crash everything. And Donald Trump came back and said, Scott Bessent didn't have to tell me that. I know the market better than anybody. Yeah, you know the market. Do you know the dollar? Spacer says, I saw a recent post about AOC that bots and most likely MAGA was trying to diminish her when MTG brought up a bill decided whether or not to continue sending aid to Israel. Yeah, Israel is our ally, but they're being run by a war criminal, meaning Benjamin Netanyahu. And I have to question how much aid do we need to send them when we automatically send them $3.5 billion a year for fucking nothing? What more do we have to do? I mean, if Republicans are tired of giving foreign countries money, why not Israel? Again, they are an ally. But the unfortunate situation is that Benjamin Netanyahu runs it. He's a war criminal. When the wars end, and as far as he's concerned, the wars will never end because then he's in trouble when that happens. But when the war ends, he's likely to go to jail. And then if they can get better people in leadership, that would be great. But Israel has the same problem that the United States has. Anybody who speaks out against Israel, they will call them anti-Semitic. And frankly, whether it be the country or the people in the country, I have no problem with them. Benjamin Netanyahu, I have a lot of problems. And people say, well, that's not fair. Well, it's the same for us here. We in America, for the most part, are decent people. But we're being run by a motherfucker that is a criminal in his own right. So Israel and the United States have a similar problem. Roseanne says they think they're getting a vacation. They think they're escaping criticism, but just wait until their unhappy voters get to confront them face to face. Yeah, you're talking about the Republican members of the House going home to their districts. Yeah, you remember all those rallies and town halls they had where things didn't go well? I have a feeling that it's not going to get any better for them. I think it's going to get a lot worse because not only are they going to be complaining about the Jeffrey Epstein thing and how they're purposely trying to hide that information from the public they promised it to, but they're also going to have to address some of the economic situations, the loss of jobs, the deportations of people that are not criminals in their little communities. This isn't going to be a pleasant time for them. They may be excited to go back home, but it's not going to be fun for them. I'm hoping the media picks up on these town halls and we get to see these people get destroyed. They're going to start getting a feeling about the midterms now, too. And that's going to change how they react to stuff. Once they believe that Donald Trump is going to be a liability, and they should have already gotten that, once they believe that, they're going to be trying to walk back on Donald Trump. Spacer says, and the hilarious part is that Republicans have to start campaigning soon. How will it look if they voted no on releasing the files? That's true. Roseanne says the biggie, inflation. Yeah, Donald Trump will come out and say, there's no inflation. There's no inflation. Yeah, there is inflation. Inflation went up by 2.8%. Consumer prices went up by 3%. And we haven't really even hit the bad part. Come September, things are going to really hit us. And there's going to be some angry Trumplefucks out there paying a lot more for the shit than when we had Joe Biden in office. And Donald Trump is going to take the blame for it. He'll try to blame Joe Biden or Barack Obama or whoever the fuck, but he's the only one there to take the blame. Donald Trump is too stupid to understand that he's making bad choices that will work against him. He thinks everything he says is absolutely genius. But I got to think the people around him can read the fucking room, can read the writing on the wall. This isn't going to go well. And all the lying and deceiving and the gaslighting isn't going to work. You can't tell people that they aren't struggling financially when they're fucking struggling financially. You just can't fucking do it. I mean, they'll try, but it just won't work. It won't work at all. Pacer says Christmas is soon, or in South Park in Game of Thrones quotation, winter is coming. Yeah, you're absolutely right. These high prices and possible shortages are coming at just the wrong time. Come September, people are thinking about Christmas when they're in retail trying to sell products. Well, if you don't have the products or they're 50% more than they normally are, you're going to have a problem. I mean, see, that's the thing. We're not like the wealthy billionaires. We don't have unlimited funds. When it comes to buying Christmas presents, a lot of us are on budgets. And if that budget needs to be increased by 50%, it's going to be impossible to do. It's going to be absolutely impossible to do. And Donald Trump will take a beating for that. The Republican will take a beating for that. And frankly, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. And I hope against hope that people finally realize how they've been hoodwinked, how they've been gaslit, how they've been fucked over by the Republican Party. You talk about wanting to lower prices. You want to talk, Donald Trump will talk about ending wars. He's done neither of these things. Prices are going up, and Donald Trump hasn't stopped one war. He's just inflamed another war. So he's having trouble with his promises, even though he comes out and says, oh, we're the hottest country in the world. The economy is the best ever. My polling is the best ever. There is a woman on Fox News. Her name is Jessica Tarloff, and she is a liberal, and she talks on Fox News. And she was talking about Donald Trump's poll numbers and how bad they were. Well, Donald Trump immediately went to Truth Social and was trying to tear her apart. I've got the best polling numbers ever. No, you don't, bitch. You don't have good polling numbers. In fact, you have the worst polling numbers of any president in this current period of time. Nobody's polled lower than Donald Trump at this point. People in Costco were commenting last week to me how everything is up $2 or $3 from what it was. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Spacer says, I remember the Fox host complaining that he paid for a $75 turkey for Thanksgiving. Now it's going to be higher this year. $75 turkey. Where the fuck do you shop? I don't think I've ever spent more than $30 on a turkey, and I've gotten some big ones. That's a problem with Fox. They lie. But I'm curious as to what Fox is going to do now. If Donald Trump is in the process of attempting to sue Rupert Murdoch, are they going to turn on him? I tell you what's going to happen. When things start turning, and they already seem to be, you're going to see people slowly walk away from Donald Trump and jump on the pile. But eventually it's going to be an avalanche, and everybody's going to pile on. And all this support that Donald Trump has had is going to go away. People love building up a hero, in their minds anyway, but they love tearing those motherfuckers down. And time has come for Donald Trump to get his ship torn down. Do you think his base still believes the lies? I think there are some of them that do. I think there's some of them that always will, because they're not very bright. They're not very bright, and they have no hope, and they see Donald Trump as their only hope. They've got a guy who's ripping them off, and they, it's kind of like a domestic violence situation, where a husband abuses his wife, and then the cops come, but the wife refuses to press charges. It's one of those things. Um, Roseanne says, I love Jessica Tarloff. She's the only good thing in that pit of vipers. She wipes the floor with them on a daily basis. Yeah. By the way, we're coming to the end here, but I wanted to bring one other thing up. There is this show on the internet on YouTube. It's called Jubilee, and the show is called Surrounded. It's kind of a fucked up show where they get one person of note, might be Ben Shapiro. The other day it was Mehdi Hassan, and they get a bunch of people that disagree with him, and they go around the circle and they debate. Mehdi Hassan was on, and Mehdi, in my mind, is probably the best interviewer, the most tenacious reporter I've ever seen. He was a guest on MSNBC. Then they made him a weekend host, but apparently he was too tenacious, and they fired his ass. Well, that's okay. Mehdi's got his own thing, and he's doing fine. And he was in this show called Surround, and he had all these young white supremacist Trump motherfuckers sitting down and trying to debate him. And it didn't go very well. There was one guy that was just giddy about talking to Mehdi Hassan because he thought he was going to tear him up. Well, that didn't happen. Then Mehdi talked to him about the Constitution. Says, you don't believe in the Constitution? Well, yeah, no, probably not. You sound more than a far right, radical right person. You almost sound like a fascist. He goes, yeah, I'm a fascist. He did that on a platform with a lot of people watching it. That particular cut went viral, and his name is Josh, and he got fired yesterday. So fuck him. And now he's crying and going on the internet and saying, I got canceled. Yeah, you got canceled because you're a dumb motherfucker. And now he's trying to get a GoFundMe. Please give me money because I don't have it. Fuck you. You know what we should do? Because he wasn't the only one that was a dipshit. There were other people on there that were dipshits. We should have somebody meticulously edit out each member that sat down with Mehdi Hassan, take the worst cut, and make them go viral. And one by one, take those motherfuckers down, allow them to fuck around and find out and see what happens. Josh has got a problem, but there are a lot of people that were clapping for him. They need to go down too. Michael says he destroyed them all. Yeah, he did. And I'm not surprised. Mehdi Hassan is a very bright, very articulate, very erudite guy. And these people were just silly, giddy little fucking kids that thought they could beat Mehdi Hassan, and they weren't able to do that. Spacer says, because being fascist is cool, give me a break. Makes me ashamed to be a Gen Z, but it only pushes me to see that we need to be the change. Yeah, absolutely. It is a little disappointing seeing these young people behave like this. That's troubling. Totally against democracy, all for autocracy or even fascism. You know, these are young kids, and I'll be honest with you, I was 21 once. And when I was 21, I thought I knew some shit. Now that I'm 65, I can categorically say when I was 21, I didn't know fuck all about fuck all. And these kids don't know fuck all about fuck all. But I would hope their parents teach them properly. And apparently these kids on this particular show have some shitty ass parents. Maybe we should make those fucks go viral too. All right. I'm going to wrap up the Rational Boomer podcast and this Substack Live. I want to thank you all for showing up. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Without you folks showing up, this gets real fucking boring real quick. So thank you very much. Thank you for showing up and participating in this little live that we had here. Those of you listening, I hope you, I appreciate you taking the time to listen to the whole thing. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.